welcome back. Thank you for joining me today. So, last week's video I had made key lime squares and it only used egg yolks in it, so I had a bunch of egg whites left over. So today I'm going to take those egg whites and I'm going to turn them into Pavlova. I really hope I'm pronouncing that properly. So basically it is, I'm turning them into meringues and I'm going to make them into like little nests instead of one big meringue. And then it's topped with whipped cream and fresh berries, or I'm actually going to make a fruit compote instead on top and put it all together. So, sounds awesome, doesn't it? And exciting news! My book is now available. I am so excited to be sharing this. So, now available on Amazon. It comes in 2 copies, or 2 covers actually. The Rice Krispie and a picture of a tiramisu I made. So go check them out, available on Amazon. Anyway, I'm so excited for this. So let's get going and I'm going to show you how to make this Pavlova. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is put a little bit of white vinegar on some paper towel, and I'm going to use that and wipe down my whisk attachment. I'm going to wipe down my bowl and my spatula, and this is just to remove any grease or residue that's on anything before I start whipping up the egg whites. Alright, so I'm going to add 4 large egg whites into my mixer bowl and just a little dash of salt, like maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon, if that. And then I'm going to put it onto my mixer with the whisk attachment and let it start whipping. While your egg whites are whipping up and getting foamy, in a separate bowl you're going to mix together 1 1/4 cups of sugar. I used super fine sugar. I feel like it works a little better, but you don't have to. And I'm also mixing in 2 teaspoons of cornstarch into the sugar. Then I'm just going to add it slowly to my egg whites until it's all been added. Remember to stop your mixer once in a while, scrape down the sides of your bowl, and then keep adding more. And yes, I accidentally bumped my camera, so the view is a little off. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I did that. So, after all the sugar's been added, then you can remove it, add a teaspoon of vanilla, a little teaspoon of lemon juice, fold it in a little bit, put it back on your mixer, and then you are gonna whip these egg whites forever. Okay, so not quite forever. You're gonna mix them for quite a while, probably a good 15 minutes, until the egg whites become very thick and glossy, and they should hold a nice stiff peak when you hit them with your spatula. So once they reach that beautiful glossy look, stiff peak forms, then you're ready to start putting them onto a baking sheet. Alright, so I have a large baking sheet lined with parchment paper, and I am going to be using a piping bag and tip to put my meringues on the parchment paper. You don't have to, you could just use a spoon and put spoonfuls of it on if you want. I'm just trying to make them look fancy and presentable and pretty. So I'm going to fill my piping bag and then I'm going to pipe them onto parchment paper in a, I guess, kind of a rose shape into like little individual size nests. I don't know what else to call them. So a Pavlova is usually 1 large meringue, but I'm going to do them individually. I think it'll be easier to handle, easier to share. So that's what I'm going to do. So pipe them onto your baking sheet and preheat your oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. And then once you have them all onto your baking sheet, you're going to put them in the oven. It says for an hour. I definitely did not leave these in for an hour. I checked them at about a half hour and they were already starting to get dark. When I tapped them, they were hollow sounding. They were already cracked. Not at all what I expected. I've made meringues before and they've never turned out like this. So I think the temperature was way too high. Anyway, I followed the recipe as it said. That's the point, is I wanted to try it to see how it turns out. So So for the fruit compote, I'm going to start with a handful of strawberries. I've already washed them and dried them. Now I'm just gonna cut the tops off and chop them all up. Okay, so over low heat in a pot, you're gonna add a 1/4 cup of blackberry juice. I'm using fresh squeezed because I had blackberries frozen, they thawed, and I just squeezed all the juice out of them. Then I'm adding 1 teaspoon of cornstarch and 1 tablespoon of sugar, and I'm just gonna mix that together. I would have used whole blackberries, but my husband doesn't like the seeds, so that's why I just squeezed all the juice out of them instead. So next, you're gonna take those chopped strawberries and you're gonna add them in. Give it a mix. You're also gonna add in another tablespoon of sugar and some lemon juice, and you're just gonna let it mix and cook until it all cooks down into almost like a jam, only it's not gonna get really thick like jam because we're not adding any gelatin or anything to it. Okay, so we're ready to put it all together now. I have 2 little strawberries. I'm just gonna slice into each strawberry just to make them look pretty so I can have a little garnish. Also, while I'm doing this, I have whipped cream mixing in my mixer. I didn't think you guys needed to see that. It's just whipped cream with some sugar and a little hint of vanilla. Mix it up and make whipped cream. So now you're gonna take your meringue, put it on your pretty little plate, and you are gonna take the whipped cream and add spoonfuls of it to it. Hopefully when you did your meringues, you kind of made like a bowl shape or a little nest so that the whipped cream can be pushed down into the middle of it. If not, that's okay, just add a whole bunch on top of it. Once you have your whipped cream on it, then you're gonna also add your fresh fruit on it or your fruit compote. Alright guys, we are all done and it turned out amazing. So I know my meringue kind of cracked. Cooking it at 300 was a little high. I think next time I'll do 225. And I took it out at, well, didn't take it out of the oven, but I turned it off at about a half hour instead of an hour because it started to get too dark and it was cracked, and every time I tapped it, it already sounded hollow. So I just turned the oven off and left them in there until it cooled. So it turned out amazing. The meringue is awesome, the whipped cream, and then the berries on top. Oh, it just comes together so beautifully, and I love this. I can't believe I've never made it before. I make meringues, but I've never made pavlova. So this is fantastic. I love this. This recipe was really great, and it was a good way to use my egg whites from my last video. So it worked out really well. Anyway, I want to remind you all that my new cookbook notebook is now out and available on Amazon, so please go check it out. I hope you'll all love it. It does come in 2 different covers. One is this Rice Krispie with all the bright colored pages. The other one has a picture of a tiramisu that I made from one of my videos actually, and it's a little bit darker, not so girly. So please go check it out, available on Amazon. And thank you so much for joining me today and watching my videos, liking, subscribing, sharing them, commenting. I appreciate it very, very much, and I hope you'll keep watching them. So thank you for watching today, and I will see you for my next recipe.